Okay, now that we created Azure Data Factory resource, now we can go back to Data Lake Storage. Let's click on this Data Lake Storage and let's click on these containers. So now we are able to see those two containers that we already created, but now I would like to add another one. This container will be storing our CSV files. So let's click on container. Let's type staging and let's create. Well, let's actually type staging data and create. Okay, perfect. Now it's completed and let's click on this staging data container. Now I will need to upload some files on this container. So let's click on upload. Let's click on this browse for files option. And now I will be able to find my files here. I already have them here on desktop. I will provide, of course, those files in the description of this video, so you will be also able to import them. Basically, these are 4 files that I will be importing. Let's do one by one. Let's first import these customers, then payment method, sales channel, and fact sales. Let's click on open, and then upload. Okay, perfect. Now we have all these files imported. Now that we completed that, we can go back to Azure Data Factory. So let's click on this Home tab and let's go to our home page here. Basically, this is our data lake storage and now we have files stored in one of the containers. So let's use Azure Data Factory to move files from one container to another. Let's click on Launch. And now that we are here, let's go to this Author tab. Let's click on that and let's create a new pipeline. Okay, perfect. Now that we completed that, let's click on this Move and Transform. If I expand that, I will be able to see my copy data feature here. Let's place it here. And now we will need to provide some values. First, we have this General tab. And here we need to provide name. So let's say, for example, import data. Import data. Okay, perfect. If we scroll down, we will be able to see that these are some default options, so we don't need to change anything here. We can go to this Source tab. Now we need to provide our source data set. So let's click on this button here, and if we click on that, we will be able to see that we don't have any data sets. So we will need to create new. Let's click on new. And now we have multiple options. We have, for example, S3 bucket. Also we have blob storage. We have, for example, MySQL database, Postgres, and so on. But this time let's use this Azure blob storage. Let's click on continue. Let's choose our file format. In our case it's CSV. You have also option for Excel, JSON, and so on. But let's click on that one. Continue. And now we will need to provide name for that source. Let's say import data. Import data. Okay, like that. And we need to create a linked service. Let's click on new. Let's call this import data 1, for example. This option I can leave it as it is. And now I need to choose Azure subscription option. Let's, instead of select all, let's choose our subscription. And now let's choose storage account name. In our case, it's this end-to-end project. If I choose that, I will be able to create my connection. So let's click on this test connection. And as you can see, it's successful. Okay, now that we checked that, we can create our linked service. And now we have that linked service already chosen. So this is linked service that we created now. Now that we completed that, we need to provide file path for our CSV files. So let's provide by clicking on this browse. And we have 3 containers that we created. Raw data, staging data, and transform data. Let's click on staging data. And let's click, for example, first for dim customers. Let's click on OK. Let's leave this option first row as header and also import schema, and let's click on OK. Now we completed this source section, but now we can check if we did it properly. How can we do that? We can click on this preview data. If I click on that, if I completed everything properly, I will be able to see my data, which is true in this case. We have our data here and we are able to see it. So let's close this one. Now we need to import our data somewhere. In this case it will be also Azure Data Lake, but this time we will be using another container. So let's click on sync dataset. I also need to provide new. Let's click on that. And again use Azure Blob Storage. Let's click on continue. Choose file format. It's CSV. Continue. And now again we need to create linked service. But basically we already created one for previous data importing, so let's try to use that one here. If I do that, I will be able to see this file path option, so I will need to provide my file location. Let's click on that. And now, instead of staging data, I will need to provide raw data, because we would like to load our data into this container here. Let's click on OK. And now I need to provide file name. In this case, file name will be, let's call it dim customers. Let's type raw data, for example. For this one, let's choose none, because we don't have any schema or anything else, and let's click on OK. If I do that, I will be able to see that we completed this sync section. We can click on this and we can click on this debug option. But before that, we need first to validate pipeline, so let's click on validate. If we check for any errors, no errors as you can see here, and now we can debug basically this pipeline. So let's click on debug. And now let's see the status. As you can see, status is succeeded. Basically this means that we should be able to see our file now in a raw data container. So let's publish all, just to be able to save our pipeline. Publish. After we publish that, we will check if we did everything properly and if we have our CSV file imported in raw data container. So let's do that now. Let's go to this tab here and let's go to this home tab. Now let's go to Data Lake Storage. Let's click on that. Let's click on Containers option. And let's see our raw data folder. As you can see, now we have our file imported. If I open it and click on Edit, you will be able to see our data here. As you can see, we successfully imported everything. Let's close this one. And now we need to do the same for the rest of these files. So let's do the same. Let's go back to our Azure Data Factory. And I'm gonna create again this pipeline here. Basically I will need to call them differently. Let's call this one, for example, if I click on general, let's call it import data. Let's call it customers. And for this one it will be, I'm not sure which one is next, but let's provide, for example, import data. Let's leave this for now, but I will change it later. So we need to provide source and sync again. Now let's do that. Let's click on this source. And for the source dataset, we also need to create new. Let's find this option, Azure Blob Storage. Basically, this is our data lake. Continue. CSV file. Continue. And now we can choose our link service. And now we need to provide file path. Let's click on this, staging data. And next one will be, let's see, payment method. Okay. We will use this first row as header and also import a schema from this connection because we already have that file here. Click on OK. And now we will be able to complete this source section. Let's again preview our data. And now we are able to see that we have some values for payment method, credit card, PayPal, cash, Bitcoin, and so on. Let's close this one. And now let me change this first. Let's provide this payment method here. Okay, perfect. Now I need to provide this sync value. Let's click on New, Azure Blob Storage, Continue, again CSV file, Continue, and now let's choose our link service. Let's find our file, raw data, okay, file name will be dim payment method. Okay, perfect. For this one I'm gonna put none, and let's click on OK. Also I'm gonna connect these, so if I execute this properly, it will automatically run this pipeline here. So let me just zoom out a bit. Let me move them like this, just to be able to see everything. Okay, perfect. Now let's create two more. Copy data and one more time. For this one, let's call it import data, and this one will be data sales. And this one I also need to see the name of that file. And let's provide source and sync values for both of these. Let's click on New, Azure Blob Storage, basically our data lake, Continue, CSV file, Continue, link service, we will choose that one that we created. And now let's find our file, staging data, and this is dim sales channel. Okay, perfect. Dim sales channel, let's leave this as it is, and also this one. Let's click OK. And this source is completed. Now let me change the name. Sales channel. Perfect. And what is left to be done for this one is this sync option. New, blob storage, continue, CSV file again, link service, we will choose our existing link service. Let's find our container, raw data. Okay. And now I'm gonna just here put none. First row I will leave as it is, and let's click on OK. Let's connect one to this one. And let's do the same for the last one, for sales. Let's create a new Azure Blob Storage. Okay, perfect. Import data, and let's find our file. Staging data. Now it's sales. Okay. Perfect. We can leave this as it is. Now we completed this source option. Let's preview our data. This will be bigger data set. As you can see, we have a lot of columns and rows here. And we need to provide sync option. New, this one. Okay, perfect. I'm doing this quickly because I think you already understand the logic here. Let me browse, let me find my file, raw data again. But for you, it's good to do everything step by step, just to understand it better and to learn better by repeating everything. Okay. File name will be fact sales. raw data. I forgot maybe to put this for previous files, but I will be able to change it later. I think everything is fine. Let me just click OK, and it should be fine now. Let me connect this to this one, and now let's validate everything. We don't have any errors. Let's close that one, and let me debug everything. Basically, let me run my pipeline to see if everything will be fine. And also we can go back to our Azure Data Lake storage, home, storage account. Let's go to containers. And let's find this raw data. Currently we have only dim customers. We already completed that part, but we are still waiting for those. For customers it's perfect, and for payment method it's also done, as you can see here. Now we are waiting for 2 more pipelines. As you can see, those 2 are completed. Let me refresh this one. And now we have also sales channel, payment methods, and now we are waiting for fact sales. Let me rename this one. Save. And as you can see, we also imported this fact sales. And now let me just change for this one. Let me change that name. Raw data, save, and now we successfully imported our data. This means that let me show you, this first step is completed. So basically we imported those CSV files in that staging container, and then we used Azure Data Factory to import it into raw data. What is also important to mention, you can use this Azure Data Factory not only to connect to Data Lake container, but you can also use it to extract data, for example, from some databases, some software tools, and so on. So basically, now that we completed this part, now we will be able to import our data in Databricks, and after that we will be transforming our data and importing into this transformed data container. So we will do that in the next step.